Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Terrell here, patreon.com/JagerBombs, as well as DFSR. Welcome to the new, going to keep this going, the Monday JagerBombs DFS pregame shot show. Just pretty much wanted to bring you a live show on Mondays, the same as I kind of have been a little bit on Fridays, to kind of go over the slate, some of my picks, weather. We don't have any weather today, so we don't got to worry about that. Answer any questions about the sheet. It's a great opportunity to get in and interact. Ask your questions, how I use the sheet, ask about some stats, whatever you don't maybe understand on the sheet. Definitely jump in and have a look at that. And Mondays and Fridays, you're also, if you're not a member, you're also going to get a look at some of the things that we do look at on the cheat sheet. So if you want more, you can definitely jump over to jagerbombs.com/jagerbombs. I said that wrong. Patreon.com/JagerBombs. That's the link you need to go to. The link is in the description below as well if you want to check that out. Head over. $10 a month for one sport if you're just looking at baseball. $20 a month if you want all sports. We do cover 13 different sports. I believe there's 7 or 8 that are live right now. The rest coming back, like NFL, NHL next season, NBA next season, that sort of thing. So we're covering a ton of stuff. Starting July 1st, I also added 3 more members. They've actually been around for a little bit longer, but officially part of the team, Dane, Kenny, and Ryan. So we've got a 4-person team now over on my Patreon. We're growing things. Things are going really awesome. I'd like to thank all of you for participating in the shows, asking questions, supporting me for as long as you have through thick and thin. So thank you very much. Let's get into the show here. So we've got 9 games on the main slate tonight. We're going to talk about picks. We are going to look at the sheet here. Let's start at starting pitching. There's 4 pitchers that I like tonight on the slate. I know it's been a little rough on some of the more expensive pitchers lately. It's been, like Cole the other day, a lot of that spin rate stuff, a lot of talk about sticky stuff and it affecting pitchers. One pitcher that hasn't really seen much of an effect since that came in is Brandon Woodruff. A little expensive on FanDuel tonight. I think we're going to go a different direction, or I'm personally going to go a different direction in terms of cash games. But I do like Woodruff on DraftKings at 10-4 as your top guys. You can see here the numbers have been awesome. If we go look at, and this is over at fangraphs.com, this is a site I use hours and hours a day, all baseball season and pretty much prepping in the off season as well. You can look at game logs over on DraftKings as well if you're looking for like fantasy points and that kind of stuff. You get quite a bit of information through the game logs here, but I just love how detailed Fangraphs is with all their information. So I like to look at theirs. Anyways, you look at this game log and you see one bad start, and it was in Colorado. Seriously, that's it. That's the only start outside of opening day versus Minnesota that he has allowed more than 2 earned runs, and in that time he's only allowed 2 earned runs 3 times. The rest have been 1 or 0. Absolutely consistent. He should probably be in the 11,000 range on this smaller slate with not as many options. So it feels like we're getting a little bit of a buy low with him. So I'm 100% game on that as my top pitcher. As you can tell, he's got upside. You're probably looking at 5 to 8. Let's say 5 to 7 strikeout floor with a double-digit strikeout upside. So not only does he give you a high floor, he also gives you some upside here as well. And then if we go back across and we just peek at the matchup here real quick, he faces a Mets team. And what I kind of look at is I kind of scroll over. They're 8%. WRC plus is something I look at against opponents. So they're 8% below league average against righties. 7% below league average on the season, and striking out 28% over the last 7 days and 27% over the last 14. So they're trending down. So plus matchup, we got a big favorite, low total, a very consistent pitcher with high floor, high upside. He's easily my top guy. Number 2, in terms of starting pitcher 2 here, I really do like what we get with Joe Musgrove. Bring up his game logs here. Not as consistent, but again, we get a big price discount here. 2.63 ERA on the season, backed up by a 3.29 xFIP. That's incredible in itself. He only went 4 innings, coming off a rough start here in Cincinnati. But before that, he looked really good versus the Dodgers, really good at home versus Cincinnati before that. Against the Mets, he allowed 3 earned runs in both, but as you can see, he's been pretty consistent in here. Again, not as consistent as Musgrove, or not as consistent as Woodruff. But at 8,700, that keeps us under That keeps us under our 20,000 threshold if you want to do double pay up. I personally like spending down. There's a lot of different options tonight. If you're really scared of those more expensive pitchers, and like I said, I think Woodruff's a little bit of a buy low at his price right now, especially in relative to the options and the size of this slate, obviously. But if we had a pitcher, top three, top five pitcher, and a small slate like this, we're normally seeing 11,000, 10-5 to 11,000. So definitely my number one. If you want to do double pay up, Musgrove is there. Again, a little bit low, I think. I thought he'd be maybe mid nines, kind of maybe second in price in here. So getting him as the fourth most expensive on FanDuel makes sense. Or on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I like the discount if you want to go him as your starting pitcher one. Makes a lot of sense. Minus 210 favorite here. The matchup isn't that great. Washington's been good over the last few days, but their lineup isn't out yet. But they're going to be like Juan Soto's really all we're going to be scared of in this lineup tonight. Trey Turner's out, Kyle Schwarber's out. So it's a downgraded lineup, so I'm not really worried about that form over the last 7 and 14 days. So I'm definitely on board with Musgrove. Kobe Allard's another interesting one if you want to go even cheaper. I wouldn't blame you. It's probably more of a GPP play to get all the bats in and stack whoever you want. But you could definitely go Allard and Musgrove here, very cheap. Keeps you in that you're looking at about 17,000, a little less than 17,000 combined. So you should be left with about 4,300. Let's just go plug that in here. I've got it up. So if you go Woodruff and Musgrove, you're left with 3,800. So that's definitely doable. I don't really want to go below 3,800 average after I'm done my pitchers. If you were to go Woodruff and Allard, you're now left with 3,960. And if you were to go Musgrove and Allard, you're left with almost 4,200 average left over. You go ahead and you punt your catcher if you want to do that. Then you've got you can pretty much go any direction you want with pitching or with your hitters tonight. And then I think Max Fried's going to come in a little bit under owned, and he does have a really good matchup versus Pittsburgh. As you can tell, it's all green across the matchup portion here. The last 7 days have been even worse with only a 42 WRC plus and 106 ISO. The strikeouts aren't really there. So that's the only thing that really gets me away from it, but it's very comparable to Musgrove. So making that pivot across, definitely there for GPPs. But my top three would be Woodruff, Musgrove, and Allard. If you're building 20 max, you can easily just go with those three pitchers or those four pitchers and just mix and match. I like personally going with three. So I would maybe run like Woodruff, Musgrove in 5, Woodruff, Allard in 5, Musgrove, Allard in 5, and then you're left with 5 other lineups. And then I would probably mix in Max Fried maybe in 5 of those lineups, or maybe 3 or something, just kind of mix it up a little bit more. So that's how I would build a 20 max with that pitching pool. All right. If you guys got any questions, again, fire them off in chat. Anything you want to learn about the sheet, anything about Patreon, signing up, what you get, anything about DFSR, I'm going to go over the DFSR tools here shortly. I've got them. This is my article for today. You can find over at dfsr.com. I talk about my favorite plays. So I wrote up Musgrove and Woodruff, and then you can see all the bats here as well. And we're going to jump into those here shortly. And then if you go up to MLB Optimizer, if you're a member, if you're not, you're going to see the sign up page. Hit me up. All my Patreons up until the end of August can get a free trial throughout the summer through dfsr.com. Just hit me up in a DM after, and I can let you know how to go about doing that. Doug over at DFSR has been awesome in hooking us up that way to get some exposure to a optimizer, so you can use the optimizer with our sheets and our advice as well. And we cover NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and PGA with the optimizer. So what I would do with pitching, what I always do, you have to make 2 decisions on DraftKings to make the optimizer work. So I always like locking my pitchers in. So as you can tell, the top 2 right up here are Musgrove and Woodruff. Lock them in, hit optimize, and you can kind of see what lineup's going to build. We're going to go through hitters, and I'm going to pop back to this, obviously, and show you how I will integrate that. But it's pretty close to what I like with my hitters. As you can see, a lot of Cubs are showing up, and that leads me right into team stacks here. So with the team stacks today, the first thing that stood out from last night setting up the sheet to this morning is we didn't have a Cubs run line. We had the Cubs being a favorite in this game today, but we did not have a run line. I woke up this morning and it was at 11. Immediately know that there's wind blowing out. You can literally look at, or vice versa. You can look at the game total at a game at Wrigley, and you can tell which way the wind is blowing, or you can look at which way the wind is blowing and you can guess the over under pretty easily. It's so correlated. It's absolutely amazing. Well, the wind is blowing out about 15, 16 miles an hour tonight. They get a tremendous matchup versus Matt Moore, 5.79 ERA, 5.42 xFIP, both terrible. The whip, walks and hits per inning pitched, is the worst on the slate. He's given up over 40% fly balls. So that's kind of what I look for in terms of adding upside to your stacks is pitchers that give up a lot of fly balls. Fly balls lead to home runs. So he's given up 16% of those fly balls are going for home runs. So like anything over like 12% is pretty good. So 16% is good. 90% 90 mile an hour exit velo, almost 40% hard contact. It's a great matchup for Chicago. Wind is blowing out. And the next thing, if we go look at the starting lineups here, and also if you're going through the team stacking page, you're comparing the team versus the pitcher versus the opponent's bullpen, you can quickly go and look at the lineup just by hovering over the team, clicking starting lineup. It's going to take you to the Cubs lineup on the starting lineups tab at the bottom. So we want righties here. We want righties. And the first thing that stands out here when looking at this, the only lefty at the top of the lineup is the only person in that lineup over 5K on DraftKings. This is a bargain for Bryant. This is a bargain for Contreras. This is a bargain for Baez. Wisdom is the second most expensive. This pricing on the Cubs is absolutely crazy. So Bryant and Baez for sure at their prices on DraftKings, they should be 5K, over 5K. Rizzo should be the one possibly under 5K in this matchup. So I think we need to take advantage of the Cubs, especially in cash. They're going to be super chalky. So I do see if you want to get away from the chalk in, GPPs, if you're playing one lineup, you could go ahead and fade that in 20 max. I would probably go about the field and maybe build like 5 of my 20 with Cubs stacks. And then if you want to be a little more contrarian, build the other 15 without Cubs exposure, depending on what your level of risk is there. But the Cubs are in a great spot, facing the lefty, wind blowing out, and underpriced. Definitely my number one team. Number 2, it's close. I really like Kansas City here versus Gutierrez. He's got a 4.93 ERA. The xFIP is worse. Not a good whip. Lots of fly balls here. He's given up home runs. The hard contact isn't really there, but he's given up a very high barrel rate, second highest on the slate. And that's pretty much looking at exit velo, launch angle, and deciding how many times, the percentage of the time that the batter is hitting in the barrel of the bat, like in the sweet spot. So anything like over 5% is like, I think average for the major league hitter right now is around 4.3%, something like that. So double that. You're talking 8% in here. 8 to 10% is elite. So he's given up, not elite for the pitcher, but elite for the team that you're looking to target against that pitcher. So definitely be looking at that. It lines up with his ex-Woba and his ex-Slug as well. And what we want to do with Kansas City here, he's actually been worse against righties. I like to look at the WOBA. 291 WOBA against lefties, 382 versus righties. I'm going to be targeting righties for the most part, but as you can see, he's even got a 622 xFIP against lefties. So he's been almost 2 runs worse in the xFIP department than his ERA that he's posted. So I'm not going to discount lefties at all. I just would more concentrate on the righties, and I believe their lineup is in. Yes. So we got Merrifield at the top. He's in play in all formats. Right-handed bat there. Then we got Santana. He's nice and cheap. He's not been really doing a whole lot, like 4 to 8 DK points per game. So I'm not really sure about going there. Sal Perez is one I'm definitely looking at. Even on DraftKings, he's the best catcher offensively in the game right now. Buster Posey would have something to say if you're looking at the overall MLB, but right now Salvador Perez is there for me. So 5K is pretty good for what he's putting out there. 514 slugging percentage. He's the power on the team for sure. I like Ryan O'Hearn value here for sure. If you're looking for cash games, cheap first base, 3,200 is very cheap. 2,600 on FanDuel. He's up to the cleanup spot. I believe he's got hits. Just jump over here real quick. Yes, that's what we want to see. Okay, he's got hits in 4 of his last 5 games here. Double home run mixed in there. The floor is there. I don't, it's not exciting getting 3 to 7 points from your guy. But if we're paying up for pitching tonight, you're looking for a guy in a good matchup, middle of the lineup, and I don't want to say underpriced, but value priced. He's definitely there for me. I'm looking at that. Jorge Soler, very cheap, hits lefties well, but just not having a great season overall. So probably GPP only there. White Sox are ranked number one in my model right now. Um, they've had a lot of injuries, but they've been heating up big time here again. Last 7 days, last 14 days, one of the top three, top four offenses overall in the season. They are facing Bailey Ober for Minnesota. Hasn't been great. The xFIP's been a little bit better, so there's signs of things to come. But he gives up too many walks and hits, and he gives up a ton of fly balls and over 20% home run to fly ball rate. So I could see a lot of power here. 44% hard contact, all among the highest on this slate. And then you go and just look at here, huge split difference for Chicago. So lefties have a 250 WOBA, 331 xFIP, 0.75 WHIP. He's been excellent against the right-handers. A little bit of a revert, or not a little bit, a lot reverse split guy here. 8.10 ERA, 507 WOBA against lefties, 566 xFIP. So we're looking at lefties here for the White Sox, which is tough. Looking at their lineup, Moncada is just coming off a little bit of an injury, but he is a nice price, mid 4K. Brian Goodwin, really nice value hitting cleanup here at 3,100, 3,300 on FanDuel. Isn't as great. 3,100 is almost a lock, needing him in here in this matchup on DraftKings. Grandal would be a GPP addition here. Gavin Sheets a GPP addition simply because he's down in the 6 hole, very cheap. But if you're looking for that punt play to tie you like your lineup, you got about $2,700 left on DraftKings for cash games. I don't mind him as a one-off if you go there. But if you're looking for like a cash game exposure to the White Sox here, you could go Goodwin and Sheets, which are batting 4 and 6, but they very, very cheap, only 5,700 between them on a top 3 implied run team tonight in terms of projected runs scored. So I definitely like that here. Okay, next team up that I'm looking at. So we talk about the 3 favorites. Boston, number 2 in my model. I am not as high on them. They're facing a lefty. They've crushed lefties, but Jose Suarez he's going to be an opener. He's been pretty darn good. 198 ERA out of the bullpen. He has opened a few games, I believe. That xFIP 379 is good. Very low whip. He's not giving up a ton of fly balls. Very low hard contact given up. Very low barrel rate. He's been dominant against right-handed batters, and that's kind of what we look for out of Boston when we target lefties with the Red Sox. Is we're looking for. Let's just jump over to their lineup and have a look. I believe their lineup is in as well. It is not. So we'll look at their projected. I don't mind Hernandez, but the price is now starting to come up. It was a little bit cheaper before him hitting leadoff. But, JD Martinez is the right-handed batter. Xander Bogaerts, always against lefties. When you're facing a lefty for Boston, those are 2 guys that we're looking at playing as core. Well, they're not only are they 6K and 5,500, the pitcher they're facing, although it may only be one at bat, has been dominant against right-handed batters. So, maybe just chalk up an 0 for 1 for those guys right off the bat. Then they get into the bullpen, and we'll go look at that here real quick. And I added today bullpen last 7 days. You can check all that out down here in the bottom and bullpen report. Shows overall in the last 7 days for your ERA, xFIP, home run to fly ball, K percentage, walk percentage, and whip. But on the team stacking tab, this is all season, but today I added ERA last 7 as well, just so we can compare. So that's another knock against them. LA's bullpen has been like 2 runs better than it has been on their season numbers. So the bullpen's been very good. So even if he only goes 2 innings, the bullpen's been good. It kind of limits their upside today. So there's a lot going against Boston. Don't get me wrong. I love the power upside, but they're definitely not my favorite team. They are not even my next favorite team after Chicago, and Kansas City. I would probably go Atlanta or San Diego here. Actually, let's go back and look at the matchup here real quick first. They're facing Pittsburgh, and Chase DeYoung has not been great. 5.65 ERA, 5 WHIP. All the numbers here point to targeting Atlanta as a top bat. The only problem is Atlanta, they're expensive. Righties are going to be what you're going to want to look for the most, but he has not been great against lefties either, so you can target any of them. The only reason I have them as GPP is just because of their price, 59, 58, 58. There's no way you can target 2 of those in cash games and still pay up for pitch. And this would be more of a stack if you go with the starting pitcher route that I talked about, combining Allard and Musgrove, or Fried or Musgrove, or Fried and Allard. Two of the three of these guys that are in under 9K, especially if you get Allard with one of these two, Musgrove or Fried, is going to lead you to a GPP stack that's going to open up Atlanta with their prices at the top of the order. So I would stay away for cash games. The only guy I would really consider for cash games because of his price would be Austin Riley. Hitting cleanup, 4,200 behind those powerful bats ahead of him. He should get some opportunities to drive in runs tonight. I like him on both sides. And one thing for him, why he's having such a career year this year, he's walking more for one, and just making a lot more contact. So, and the other big thing is he used to be absolutely terrible against righties. He has been better against righties this season than lefties. He's like 26%. Yeah, right here, 26% over league average against right-handed pitching. So he would be the one if you need to go that way at third base. And then we're looking at San Diego. I believe I put their lineup in before we started here. They're facing, I don't know if it's John Lester. Washington hadn't announced yet, so I'm not really sure which way to go here yet. But again, this is another team that fits into, if you're going with the two value pitcher route, under 9K, this is a team that I will target, tons of upside. So even if cash games, this is why this is viable in cash games to fade Woodruff, would be go Musgrove and Allard. You can then use in cash games Atlanta and San Diego, but I just personally like going Woodruff and feel there's more than enough value here, going with Woodruff and getting exposure to Chicago or Kansas City. There's enough value in those three teams to pay up for pitching here, and without really sacrifice. It's not like we're fading Coors, a team in Coors with a really good matchup or anything. By fading Atlanta or San Diego. I don't think they're must plays by any means, but it is viable if you want to go that route. All right, if we got no questions, I'm going to jump over to PrizePicks quick here. Actually, I'm going to go back to the DFSR optimizer real quick. I'm going to zoom in on this, show you how I go about building. So I went Musgrove and Woodruff. In terms of Cubs bats now, just easiest way to find them here, I'll just go and highlight just the Cubs. And what I like locking in is Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, like I talked about. Those would be two I like for cash games. We're going to go back over here, go to Kansas City real quick. I do like Ryan O'Hearn, excuse me, for cash. I like his value. Base. Oh, on Chris. You don't have Kansas City highlighted. That's why we can't find him. You can run it that way, for cash games. I lock in my top two pitchers. I like to lock in like four bats and then just let the rest do the work. So it's filling in with Cubs. Absolutely loves the Cubs, and that the algorithm loves it. And it's just pretty much Cincinnati and Chicago. I don't know if I would go exactly that route for cash games. Actually, didn't get my pitchers in there. Oh, I see. So once you lock in your players, you have to unselect your teams if you go that way, because it's limiting your player pool by having this selected. So now that that's done, yeah, we're filling in. We've got Gene Sakura. We're filling in, but with Kansas City and Chicago. So that's a lot of Kansas City and Chicago exposure, paying up for both pitchers here. If you go now and just lock in Allard, and we'll just see how that changes things up here. We now get Acuna starts popping off. If we go Allard and okay, so there's Woodruff paying up. We went Allard and Musgrove there, Allard and Woodruff. So there's a lot of things that you can do with these filters, and that's not even talking about the filters on the right. If you want to go and play with those filters, definitely, if you want to make 50 lineups for GPP, you set that. If you want a very tight player pool, have this randomness at 0. If you want a lot of players within your 50 lineup, have the you're going to see Wilson Contreras 100%. If I take that randomness up to 100, Contreras probably goes down to about 20%. So that's how that does that. It just gives you more exposure to more players the higher that randomness filter is set. Okay, before we get going, we got a question here. Hey, Matt, thanks for joining in. With the Cubs so bad lately, are there any Philly bats you like tonight in GPPs? Let's just go across. And Philly, yeah, so they're right up there, almost 5 implied runs, plus Park. Zach Davies has not been good. See, this is what I don't like for GPPs. I like all of these teams more just simply because Zach Davies maybe hasn't been great, but he really limits the upside that we're looking for to win a GPP, which is home runs. Home runs and strikeouts on DraftKings, especially, is where you make your money. And as you can see here, it's the second lowest, close to the second lowest, these guys' percentage points difference, but second lowest fly ball rate on the slate. And the second lowest for sure outside of this early slate, but on this main slate, the lowest home run to fly ball rate. So he's not giving up a lot of home runs. He's not giving up a lot of fly balls. But one thing I do like to see is that the XFIP is almost a run higher. So maybe he's been getting a little bit lucky. So I would consider it for sure. It's probably going to be low owned because Chicago is going to be so high owned. So if you're looking for a contrarian stack to maybe leverage off of that, I like it from different teams personally, but I wouldn't say no, don't target Phillies. Um, that's a direct pivot in the same game that could really pay off, and we see it all the time where we target. In Coors, we've seen it where we'll target the away team, and they'll end up going. Colorado will end up going like 7-1, win the game. Colorado was like all of them like 5 to 10% owned, while the other team is all like 20 to 30% owned. You gain instant leverage, and baseball is a great sport to do it on a daily basis. You just really have to look at that contrarian stacking the long term and look at your results. Don't try it one day and be that contrarian. Maybe Chicago blows them out tonight and it doesn't work. Don't get down on yourself for that. Keep trying that approach over and over and over again, because all it takes is once. You won't be splitting with anyone when it does go off. 40% of the field's going to be lost to that chalky team, while you're going to have the 5% team. You're going to be winning the GPP that makes up for 4 or 5 days, even weeks in a row, depending if you win the GPP and how big the GPP is. Just got to yell at my kid here for a minute. Hey, Hunter, Kason, go get mom. Kids are sleeping on the couch. Got to go pick up mom from work. Both of them are sleeping. Anyways, back to this. So yeah, I'm not going to say no, don't do Philly. It's not on my personal list, but I think it will be low owned, and makes a really nice leverage play in GPPs. Okay, so I'm going to move on to PrizePicks. If you guys got questions about DraftKings, still FanDuel, definitely hit me up. Throw it in the chat. Any questions about the sheet? Any questions about any stats or anything at all? Hit me up in the chat. I will answer that. But I'm going to move on to PrizePicks now and just look at a couple plays that I like that I'm going to be targeting for my PrizePicks tonight. So looking at the pitchers here, first of all, Pittsburgh doesn't strike out a lot, so Max Fried probably off. I don't mind Woodruff here. If we go back, I'm just going to kind of flip back and forth here. We'll go back to the pitcher tab and show you kind of what I look at and why. So Woodruff is set for 8. Mets have been striking out 25% of the time on the season, 28% of the time in the last 7 days, and 27% of the time in the last 14 days. I don't mind the over here at 7. If it was 8, I'd probably reconsider. I don't mind that at all. It's probably his, like I said, if you're looking for, I think I said 5 to 7, 5 to 8 is a floor. So I think that's right around his floor, and I think he's capable of going 7 to 10. So 7 is going to be a break even. 8 to 10 is going to be a win there. So I don't mind that at all. Scrolling through the rest of these guys, though, there's really not a whole lot that really stands out. Cease under, maybe a little bit. Musgrove, with not having Turner and Schwarber in the lineup, and just seeing how ugly outside of Soto in that lineup is, I might consider at 5.5 seems a little low in those considerations. That would be like a number I would see with Musgrove if Turner and Schwarber were in the lineup. So that feels like maybe a buy low there. So for pitchers, it would be those two. Same two I wrote up in my DFSR article. For bats, I love looking at the single stat. That's kind of what I stick to. That's my game. I like looking at the hits and walks, especially. I'm going to be getting more into the runs and RBIs and total bases. I've got more coming on the sheet as well in terms of PrizePicks for you guys to do your research for, to look at hits and walks, runs and RBIs, total bases, kind of looking at the over under and doing more research for PrizePicks. It's a little bit harder. I'm in the works of working with PrizePicks and their back end, stat feed, so that I can get that stuff a little bit sooner so that I can build it into the sheet. So it's going to take some time, but that is coming for anyone that has been asking for it. So what I will do, what kind of my game plan is when I look at PrizePicks and I'm looking at my hits and walks, is I'm going to my team stacks and I'm looking for batters on the Cubs, White Sox, Kansas City, Atlanta, San Diego. That's kind of the way I'm ranking them tonight. Boston would be like number 6 out of these rankings for personal. I know that the White Sox and Boston are 1, 2 in my model. My model, just for anyone that's wondering, I've been asked this quite a bit. Just is this column A under rankings? Are those my personal rankings? No, those are based off the model. The model is just looking at the rankings of implied runs, park factor, team performance for the season, team performance last 7 days, in splits, pitchers, and it's all customizable. If you go up to the top and you click on file, create your own copy, you can come in here and adjust these numbers to how you see fit, and those rankings will change. My personal favorites are always highlighted. Green are going to be my core teams, meaning I will use them in GPPs as well as cash games. Blue usually means GPP only, like GPP stack only. So, and then in chat or on these videos is where I will let you know kind of my ranking. So it's Cubs number 1, Kansas City and Chicago are a little bit different price, but they would be like 2A and 2B for me. And then it would be like Atlanta, San Diego, and then Boston. So that's how I would rank them tonight. So for PrizePicks, I'm looking at the same rankings. I'm looking for those same teams. We don't always find players from those teams, though. They're usually pretty limited because it's hard to set a line because all of the lines for hits and walks is set at 1.5. So we got Moncada and Grindal. Grindal's down in the lineup, so I automatically fade him. If you're fading guys that aren't hitting, top 4, top 5 on PrizePicks, I like to make sure they're on the away team just so that they're guaranteed the at-bat in the 9th inning. I don't like home teams for guys batting 5 to 9 just because they're not guaranteed to get maybe that 4th or 5th at bat depending on how the game goes. I do like Austin Riley here on the over. Scrolling down, looking a little bit more. A few more of those teams. Okay, so we got Cubs here. Love Chris Bryant. Contreras leading off. I love both of those. That would be like my 1-2 on this whole entire slate in terms of PrizePicks. Contreras and Bryant over. Like I said, hitting at the top of the lineup. They are at home, wind blowing out, awesome matchup. Just, I love it. So I would go there. Rizzo would be more of a GPP play, lefty-lefty matchup. Don't really like that unless you're going like a 4 or 5 play flex. If you're going Cubs, though, I like those two. And then the other bat, Riley. And I think that was all I seen for the teams that I'm targeting here. Benintendi, Santana. Benintendi's coming off injury, not really interested. I love the value for DK at his price. It feels like a little bit of a buy low. Should he heat up? Kansas City's in a great spot. Same with Santana. Not really looking at those two on PrizePicks tonight. Boston, these are both lefty-lefty matchups, not interested. Manny Machado stands out. He would be another play I would consider. There's a lot of bats I like here tonight in terms of the over that fit how I look for my plays. There's usually only like 2 or 3 that pop up on a slate. So this being a smaller slate, I really do like this tonight. So I would consider even Jake Cronenworth hitting near the top of the lineup and Manny Machado. That gives you a lot of options here. My favorites, though, Contreras and Bryant. If you're looking for 2, I know you need 2 on different teams, but those 2 are my favorite. If you're going 3, maybe this is a night where instead of playing a 2-play power play, I would go a 3-play flex. So there's my 3 favorites. I like those. If you're feeling confident, I'm feeling pretty confident where I would maybe run that in a power play as well and try and get that 5x return. But if you're doing it like a cash game, a flex play, I definitely like doing like $25. You're going to over double your money should you get them right. So it's like a double up. So you get a little bit more. And you're still going to get 25% return on your money should you only get 2 of those 3 right. So just pull up my calculator here if I can find it. So we're putting in 25 times 1.25. So if you get 2, you get 1 wrong. you're still going to get 31.25 back on a $25 bet. So you're still positive. Don't think of that as a loss. Or sometimes I see like, almost got it. Haha, I'll take anything. A profit is a profit. If you go day after day after day making $6 a day, if you're doing $25 bets, you're going to be up. And those times when you get all three, boom, you're more than double up on your money. So we're just look at things from whether you're playing DraftKings, FanDuel, whether you're sports betting, whether you're playing PrizePicks, no matter what you're playing, look at it from a long-term investment. If you're looking to make money in DFS, you're looking to make money in sports betting, you can't just be looking at it from day to day and let your emotions get in the way. You will lose your bankroll very, very quickly. I did this early in my career. Get mad from losing one day and double your bets the next trying to make it back, or play the night slate because you lost the early slate, or you name it, or get on a win on the other end of it, win a tournament, win a GPP, win $2,000. I did that in NFL. I don't know. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. This is when I really started learning my lessons, and became, into being a provider and stuff. Was with FanDuel. I won $2,000 one week on a GPP. It was like a freaking $2 GPP. Won the tournament, $2,000. Turned back next week, and I started playing $100 double ups. I started playing $100 single entry tournaments. I started entering like 20 lineups in the bigger tournaments with 150 max people, and lost that $2,000 quite fast. Had a little bit of success along the way, but in the end, I lost that $2,000 pretty fast. That was a huge learning experience for me. This is the kind of stuff I want to pass along, and this is why we always talk about bankroll management being so huge. Is just because you won big or lost big one day, don't go and change your bets. Keep it consistent. If you're looking to make money, bankroll management is huge. I'm not saying the exact same amount. What I'll do is if I'm on a heater and I'm winning 2 or 3 days in a row, I'll maybe go and add 5%. If I'm playing $50 in double ups and I'm hitting 3 days in a row, or even if I get on a streak and I win 2 days in a row, that third day I'll maybe play $55 in double ups or $60 in double ups. Win again, I'll put another $5 or $10 in double ups in that next day. I won't increase my GPPs because I'll always take, if I'm playing single lineup, which I do because of time restraints, I'll play my cash, say $50 in double ups, and then I will play about maybe a $5 single entry and a $1 single entry. If I get a little bit more time, I'll play that in a $3 three max, and then build two more lineups around my core. But generally, it's that one lineup. So if I get on a winning streak, I will keep my GPP, $5 single entry and $1 single entry the same, but I'll add $5 or $10 more onto my double ups each and every day, which increases how much exposure I have to GPPs, or sorry, to cash games. But I won't just all of a sudden go, okay, well, now I'm going to play $100. Now I'm going to play $200 in double ups. No, I'm going to increase slowly over time so that I can take all of a sudden start losing 3 or 4 days in a row. And it happens all the time where you maybe just miss or you just totally tank, whatever. You get on a losing streak. And this is key on both ends of the spectrum, winning and losing streaks, you guys. If you're losing, don't just start doubling up and try and make your money back. That's a classic like blackjack thing that people do. They lose a few hands and they're just going to start doubling down. So yeah, that's just something I want to talk about a little bit more, was just bankroll management stuff. Contest selection is crucial to bankroll management. They're very, very correlated, and both are correlated to your overall bankroll and success and deposit in. And that's kind of what we want to bring you a little bit more of with Patreon. Moving forward, our business plan is just really helping out in all of the areas. They're huge, and we're going to stress it every show. We're going to stress it all the time in chat with you guys. I get it. If you just want to play GPPs, that's totally fine. Your choices to what you want to do. We're just trying to give you our opinions and how we go about things and how we can maybe help you if bankroll management is something that you want to get into or get better at. To make your money go further for you, even if you're not looking to get to be a millionaire playing DFS, which, by the way, we did have a millionaire as a team over on RotoPros, but that's beyond the point. Even if you're not looking to be a millionaire and you're just having fun, even if you're just playing $10 a night, make that, say you have $100 bankroll and you play $10 a night, and if that runs out and it lasts you a week, you'll go and deposit again. If that's fun, great, go ahead and do that. All I'm saying is you can take that $100 and stretch it twice as long just by playing the right contest and still have the same amount of fun. So that's a little bit on that. So I went over top stacks, went over top pitching, went over some PrizePicks plays. If you got any questions, hit us up in chat, Discord chat. I'll be in there, DFSR chat as well. Let's go get some green screens tonight, everyone. Thanks for joining the live show. I'm going to try and do this pregame shot show Mondays and Fridays to start with, and we'll see how that goes. We had like 9-10 people in here watching live for a pop-up show like this. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the support. This happened last night for Dane as well. It was absolutely incredible seeing just a pop-up show at 11 o'clock Eastern last night, and Dane just absolutely crushed it. And you guys joined in. You were asking questions. It was incredible. So you guys keep showing us that you want these shows, and we'll just keep doing them for you. Have a great night, everyone. Good luck out there.